Okay, so first of all, I wanted to just show you for those existing clients, this is the latest version of Agriware on the latest version of Business Central. So for any of you that are using NAV or NAV as we call it, same thing, Business Central, you know, Microsoft, usually as soon as the public gets used to a marketing name, they change it. You know, I always say they only have 20 products and they just keep renaming them. Just a joke, but they really do end up doing that. So just to clear up any confusion, this is the same thing as NAV. It's just a couple differences, okay? Most of you, if you're using NAV or BC right now, you're using what's called a Windows client. You know, some of you use a browser. You can use a browser as well. But Agriware was not really formatted for the browser client. So all of that's changed. In this latest version of Business Central 17, everything is in the browser. So there is no client anymore. I was absolutely in love with the Windows client and love it. And when I went to this, it was a little bit foreign at first, but once you get used to it, it is really, really nice and it actually works much better. And so now it's hard for me to go back to that older client. But so really what happened is that Microsoft changed the language that their system was written in. So companies like Agriware that are add-ons to this, they had to really revamp their product for this. So really excited that Agriware is finished with that. And now we're up to the latest version. So for those of you that you know have used Agriware, this will be a review, but you'll be able to see the new look and feel and some of that. Same product, really not a lot of added functionality or anything at this point, but like I said, it is all up to date on this latest version. So what we're looking at right here, I just want to kind of go over the look and feel just a little bit. We're looking at Role Center right now. It's a role-centered client, so depending on what position you have in the company is what Role Center you use. And this is actually a business manager. I can even show you here just real quick under my settings. You know, I'm in the business manager role, but there's a whole lot of roles, whether you're a sales order processor, inventory manager, you know, an accountant. There's all of these roles that are pre-configured for those different positions. And so I really think the look is so much better. It's so much cleaner and more modern looking, and the way that you can browse around is even smoother as well. So this is the Role Center of the Business Manager. Just real quick, you can see some of these counters out here that's telling you, how much sales you've had, this much, overdue sales, invoices, things like that. These are all things that just kind of remind you, or things to keep your eye on. Anything you want to look into in the system, you just click on it and then it'll take you to that. Now right away I can see all my overdue sales invoices. But I got this nice little, even it's conditionally formatted to turn red at a certain number that I decide, and that. So it's really all about the Role Center, is all to really give you insight into your job and really things you need to pay attention to. So all of these different queues, as we call it, is ongoing sales and sales orders, outgoing purchases, things like that, the business manager would be interested in. Now, if I change this to the sales order processor, all of this would change. I'm not going to take the time to do that right now, but I think you get the idea. So a lot of cool new things in here. They got some really nice existing reports, things you can put on like your favorite accounts. Granted, this business manager is an accountant, so they're maybe watching some of these different accounts, and all of this is configurable by the user. We even got a live trial balance down here to the left, which is really nice. But really, what I wanted to show you real quick, and I know this obviously isn't a webinar on reporting, but I did want to show you how integrated Power BI, for those of you that have not used Power BI yet, I couldn't encourage you more to do that. But what I wanted to show you is, for those of you that don't know, Power BI is a reporting tool that's part of Microsoft Office, and it is integrated with Business Central. So I can actually open up my reports, even though they're in Power BI, right from here in Business Central. Real quick, just a word about what you're looking at here. This is actually our horticulture starter pack. So we've really created all the connections and created all the relevant tables, as we say, to that have the relevant information. You know, if you're trying to do reporting on your own, you got to really kind of look under the covers and figure out where is the information, and there is duplicate information in some areas. So we've done all that work for you and connected. This is actually connected to my little test company here. So if you haven't seen Power BI, I highly recommend it. Just real quick, you know, all of this is filterable. Like if I click on the shrubs right here, all of these counters and the information is going to change just for that product line. And so I can see what my sales are year to date. Obviously I had no sales last year at the same time because it's blank, month to date, things like that. These are all different calculations that we've already basically canned for you. And there's a whole lot of them. So, but the beauty is that you don't have to leave Business Central to use it. You know, and you have all these over here, and we can change our locations in that, and then the whole report changes to that. We also have these individual, each one of these visuals, as we call them, you know, is their own little report. They all work together, but you can also expand them and increase the size a little bit so you can see it. This is kind of a nice one. I can see that this customer is down 15%. So, you know, we got sales year to date right here, sales prior year to date. I can drill into that and see, what did they buy last year? Well, I can see the only thing they bought is some of this basil lettuce leaf, 4.5 inch right here. Everything else they have, oh, there's a raspberry Ann. But you can see how quick a salesperson can go in, see where the sales were, see who they got to contact to see if they're going to get the same order that year. So let me just reset this real quick. I'll go back. So that's all I'm really going to say about the Power BI. Just wanted to let you know that we do have that starter pack. So if you've not started using it, it's not very expensive at all, and we're real excited to bring that to you to get all of our existing customers using Power BI. All right, let's get to it. So now let's go to my other role center here, and this is actually for a grower. So now I'm a grower, I'm in the system, and Agriware is added on to Business Central. And so all of my queues in here all have to do with growing. You know, here's work orders, labor control, you know, for any assignments. In this system, you can actually assign different tasks, different activities, growing activities to different users, and it all shows up in their role center here so they can see what they need to do that day. You know, we got observations, tasks. Really like the task. This is a Business Central thing, but if you're not taking advantage of that right now, they can be assigned, they can be recurring. You get reminders, you know, whether it's, you know, I have 9 not started right now, you know, you can see different things, tasks, due dates, assign them to salespeople and stuff. So definitely remember that if you're not using those, and I think they're really beneficial. So that's pretty much it as far as the role center for the grower at this point. Obviously, you can, as a user, customize this and move it around and really hide and display whatever you want. Pardon me. So with that, I just wanted to show you a little bit about the browsing and kind of the look and feel of this. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my items. Remember, if you haven't used Business Central, really everything's an item. This is a test database, so I got everything from petunias to touring bicycles in here. But so you can see, if you like Excel, you'll love this system because everything is rows and columns, just like Excel. Everything filters like Excel, sorts, and the user can show or hide or change the order of the columns and everything, and it will only be saved for when you're logged on. So you can really personalize it to your liking. Now, one of the things that's really great too is the filtering. So you can see that I've actually filtered the list here on the left and saved those filters, so I can go to my hanging baskets, perennials, shrubs, liners, things like that. But one of the things I did want to show you that I love about this version is some of the other ways to view these lists. So if you think of new customer service people, you know, a lot of times they don't know anything. You know, they didn't come from the growing industry. You know, some have, or some have worked for the company long enough, but they're talking to customers on the phone and they don't even really know the plants or don't know what they look like, right? So you can see my list of hanging baskets here, and quickly I'm going to just change this to tall tiles. Boom. Now you got pictures of all your hanging baskets. And I think it just looks so nice. So you can think of a customer service person that doesn't really know the plants, maybe doesn't know what these baskets look like. Maybe they're trying to find a substitution for one, You know, how much better could it be than them actually be able to click a button and actually see what these products look like? And we take a look at shrubs, same thing. So, you know, this is still just that same list that we had of your different items. We can click inside of these to see all the information really about this item. But I did want to just show how nice. I mean, I just think this look is so much better than the previous version, and really excited about it. Let's just take a look at annuals just to see how pretty they are. Love it. All right, I'm going to switch this back to list view. All right. Okay, so what we're going to do, and as I mentioned, for those of you that have seen Agriware before, you know, you're really not going to learn anything new as far as the concept, but this is geared towards really enticing people to come get more information from us, hopefully at Cultivate. Hopefully you're so intrigued by this webinar that you weren't even going to go, but now you're going to buy a plane ticket just to come talk to Velosio in our booth. All right. Okay. So what I'm going to do first, I'm just going to go to what's called production planning. So I'm going to click on here and go to my production plan. And so what is a production plan? So this is, think of this as your spreadsheet, you know, where you have all the list of your products, and you've already, you know, done your reporting or whatever process you go through, looking at the last 3 years of data, what have you, to figure out what are we going to grow this season. You know, maybe you're grow to order, so you know you have you have predictions from your growers of what. No matter how you do it, you have to really figure out what are we going to grow, and we have to really plan it. Okay, so this is where we do that. So just a little bit about what you're seeing here. I have a planning group called shrubs. I'm in a shrub mood today, so we're going to grow some shrubs. But you know, you really create these planning groups as a list of products that you want to plan together on the same screen. I could create a planning group that has every variety that I sell if you wanted to plan them all together, or you can break them up. You know, I only have a few. This is a really brand new database for me, so I don't have a ton of things in here, but I have one that is shrubs, and I have another list that is annual. So I'm going to stay on shrubs here. I'm going to just click on this get data, so it's going to get that list. So here's you can see the spreadsheet below. This is my list that I put inside of this shrubs planning group. Okay. Also, I'm just growing this internally. You know, if you were doing a contract grow or specifically growing for a certain customer, you can actually enter that customer here, and the job will actually be, because what this is going to do is create production jobs. Then the job would actually be marked with that customer name, so you can really know it's for them. Location. So, you know, you may have multiple physical locations. You know, those are physical addresses, not necessarily locations in the greenhouse or anything, but so I have a blue location, I call it, it's my blue warehouse. So if you were planning for one property, you know, you would be able to plan in here, create the jobs, change the location, same thing. So really in the production job that gets created, we'll say which physical location it'll be at. I could filter by genus, item, things like that, but really what we're most important here is we're viewing by week. So I could plan by day. Some vegetable growers do that. Most in my experience plan by week, but if you want to do month, quarter, year, you just click that drop down and change it to what you want. And this is something really special here. The system plans forward and backward. So what does that mean? So for these shrubs, I'm planning forward. So what that means is when I'm going to go down here in a second here, and I'm going to add some numbers in the weeks that I want to start them. Meaning, so if I'm going to put my numbers here in week 26, that means we are planting it week 26, and the system is going to go forward and tell us when it's going to be finished. If I were to put that backward and then backward planning, then these weeks are sales weeks. That would mean I want this product ready week 26, which obviously I can't do that because I would have already had to start it. But whatever number we put in here under which week, the system's going to go backwards and say, okay, you need to start it here if you want to finish there. Okay, so that's really what that means. You don't have to, you could do one or the other. You can do one crop one way, another crop another. So, you know, it's a matter of choice. So that's what that is. Okay, So let's get some numbers in here and be able to look at some of this information. I'm going to just say 5,000 of these, and I'm going to quickly go down. It works a lot like Excel. I can go down here and just quickly add these numbers. In my example here, I'm going to grow the same amount of each, which probably wouldn't do that, but I'm doing that today. I'll add some more in here. We'll do 7,000 of these. All right, so why are the numbers red? All the numbers are red because I have not released this yet. So this could be a working, a document you're working on and you want to come back to. You're not ready to actually create the production jobs yet. So you can keep coming back here and working on it. So any number that's red means you're either updated an existing one or that it's not released yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to release this, and what's going to happen is it's going to create an actual production job for every one of those numbers, okay? And for those of you who are using Agriware at the moment, I will say the speed is increased very much. The performance is much better than it was previously, I noticed in this version. So I'm going to, I don't know how many jobs this is, but I'm going to go ahead and release. And you can see that the jobs really create quickly. I've packed this with numbers in every cell, and I was really impressed by how quickly it does it. So you can see all of our numbers here. They turned black. So that tells me that they are what we call planned, okay? I'm gonna jump out of the screen right here and let's go take a look at one of these jobs that was created. So what is a production job? Well, in this system, BC Agriware, a production job really encapsulate everything from when you got to start it, when is it going to be finished, where are you going to grow it, how much space does it take up, how much labor do we need, what machines do we need, inputs, like your bill of materials, any soil, anything and everything. It's all housed in one single production job. So let's take a look. These are my planned jobs. So these are the jobs. Each row is a job that we just created. So let's look at this hydrangea limelight 2-gallon job. All right. Okay. So these are called fast tabs. Each one of these, this general production scheme, activity scheme, and that. These are called fast tabs that you can open and close. So I have them all closed purposely so I can unveil them as I talk about them. So I'm going to go ahead and just open this general tab first. There's a lot of information in here. One, it gave it a job number, right? Tells me that it's a hydrangea. But look here, we got our start week. We know we put it in week 26. This is a long crop. We got to grow the liners first before we even, get it planted up and eventually get it to be a 2-gallon. So we're starting this week of 26-21, and because of really the recipe, so to speak, that I built, it's not going to be done until week 7 of 2023. So we got a ways to wait, but that's all in the setup, of it knowing that. Tell me what my production item is, and that's pretty much it. I'm in pieces, meaning each. I'm working in eaches. If you want to sell in packs or, as far as unit of measure, you can even make up your own. The possibilities are endless there. Production quantity is 5,000. And this is key right here that we're in planned status. What I like to call this is like our sandbox or something. You can create your whole season of production and leave it in planned status, but we can still look at what our space is going to look like, look at how much labor we're going to need. We can see, run the purchasing engine to help us create purchase orders for all the inputs you need to get. All of that, all while it's in planned status. And then if we, when it's set in stone, we know this is what we're actually going to grow, we're going to release those, and that actually locks them in place. We can open them, again, very easily. But I did want to stress that these are all in planned. And so that's a really big component of this, is the ability to plan and really look at what your results may bring or what's needed. Like I say, all with, taking 2 weeks to input all of this information. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close this general. All right, this is the main concept I want to get across here as far as these growing jobs, production jobs as we call them, is the production scheme and the activity scheme. These are two, it's all, I like to think of it as two recipe cards, like if you were baking a cake, you know, and you had one recipe card that told you this is how long you have to cook it, at what temperature, and how much space it's going to take in your oven, okay? That's the production scheme. So when you look at it, look at it, just a spreadsheet. I'm actually going to just pop this out here into its own little sheet here. And so, like I said, it's rows and columns, right? So we create what's called production phases. So you can call them whatever you want. A phase is really a amount of time that you're going to grow this product. So I have a propagation stage that I just labeled prop, and it already knows that I need to start on 6/28, and that's going to be for 45 weeks. These liners take a while, so we're going to be sticking those on 6/28 and grow them for 45 weeks. And here we have, you know, what I'm growing, 5,000. And see this adjusted plan quantity, you know, we know that you're going to start 5,000, and I highly doubt all 5,000 are going to be good enough to sell. Who knows what happens, you know, during maybe you didn't get enough cuttings or what have you, but it's always going to save what you planned and always show you what your actual is, which a lot of customers don't have that information readily available. So you can really start seeing, what did we say we were going to do, and did we really do that? And it's not hard to get that information. The system just tracks it automatically. So still going over the top row here, I don't have a scrap percentage or anything, but look, you can have a different scrap percentage per phase. You know, maybe you have a spacing phase or something that you lose some product, you know, you can have a different scrap percentage per phase of the growing. And this is key right here, is you can see over here, it's already knows that quantity per area is 0.33 square feet for one of these trays. And so it's already telling me that my planned used area is 398.7 square feet. And then I got the location in my blue location in greenhouse B. Okay, so all of that in that one first row. All the rest is the same thing. And then we go to a different phase. Why do I have a different phase here? Well, because we're going to be germing or, you know, getting roots on in a different propagation house. And so if I scroll over here, now you can see that my location here is blue C. So I'm actually moving it. That may have a different amount of square feet. And also it goes from using trays to actually potted. Then I'm going to do a grow phase 2. There's 20 weeks of each of those grow phases, and then we're going to get to inventory. So my inventory, I'm saying that is 50 weeks. That inventory does not include it into the crop grow time. That is really your hold weeks. How long can I leave this? You know, these shrubs, you know, you can keep trimming them and that and really keep them forever. So I have 50 weeks because the system will automatically take it off of inventory when it expires, so to speak, like past this 50 weeks. You can control whether or not you want the system to do that. But I just wanted to make sure you understand 50 weeks isn't added to this total grow time. That means it's finished, it's in inventory. Okay, and just like all the rest, we have our different square footage in that. And you can see that change when we move the greenhouse, and then our quantity per area changed. So one thing that's very powerful and I think really special about this example is you can see that I'm actually grading the inventory. And so what I mean by that is, I know I'm going 5,000 of them, but you can see down here at the inventory that these different grades, I have one that's full color, another one cracking color. I guess I have 2 full color. It's a mistake, but you get the idea. So I'm going to segment the inventory in the grade that it is. So that's something very special about Agriware that is very powerful. So that means when I do the work order for putting this into inventory, I'm going to be able to segment and say, because we know they're not going to all bud at the same time, flower at the same time. They're, you know, so you're going to be able to go out there and actually mark in the system. So maybe you don't even publish that to your customers, You could, segment it like that, especially internally and for salespeople to be able to just look at the inventory number while they're entering an order and be able to see how many do we have full color, how many are cracking color. Most growers I know do that once a week or something, go out and walk, finished growers, and have to update that, or on a spreadsheet or however they do it. But you're able to quickly, even via mobility, go out into the field and update that, and it is in the system live. Okay, so that's why I have 3 separate inventories here, because I'm going to put different numbers in each, and then weekly or however often you count, we can continue to update that. Okay, so that is the production scheme. So it's really time and space. How long are we going to grow it? Where are we going to grow it? And how much space does that take up? Okay, so that's that so-called recipe card. All right, oh, jumped out of my job here. All right, now what goes with that? Well, now we know, the time and space and all that, but what about our inputs and all that? Like you're in manufacturing, you would say your bill of materials. Well, that's in this activity scheme. And so that's part of the job too. So you can see the phases and that are all the same. This is showing like in this propagation phase up here at the top, well, here's all the activities and everything that goes on to actually create this product. I'm just gonna close this fast tab here so we can see this, and we'll pop this one out. Okay. So the activity scheme is gonna have everything from labor, and what activity you're doing. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start at the top row, just like I did with the production scheme. We're having a propagation phase, and what inputs do we need? What labor do we need? And all that to do this. And what is our bill of materials? Well, during the propagation phase, we're sticking cuttings. So the activity is sticking, and we need labor for that. So we're going to use production labor. And you can see that I actually, I didn't even really realize that, but this is going to take 1 hour because I'm growing 5,000. And in my settings, I say, how many do we stick per hour of this genus or this variety? You can set that up, but that's kind of what you're predicting, what your norms are. Maybe you don't even know that information yet, but once you get that information, you can put in really how long it should take, and then you're able to look at what was your proposed labor, and then you register your actual labor too. And again, you're going to see how much labor did we think we were going to have? How much did we really use? So you can imagine that once you get to where your labor norms in the system are pretty accurate, you can plan your whole season and see how much labor you're going to need and different things like that. People can plan labor that never planned labor before because they have access to this information. So that's predicting that we're going to take 1 hour to do this at 5,000 per hour. We're also going to need what? Cuttings. Here's my limelight rooted cuttings that I'm actually going to purchase. So this will also feed the purchasing engine, and I need 5,000 of those. I'm growing in a 38 cell tray, so it's telling me I need 132 32 cell trays. Soil mix, it's going to take about 1,500 cubic feet. I don't even know if I have that measure right, but you get the idea. And we're going to be using some rooting hormone on these. So I'm going to need some liters of that as well. And we need equipment. We can also have equipment so you can really look at how much you're using the machines, if the machine's going to be in use. It also helps with knowing how many hours the machine is run, things like that. But I actually put in a machine, a pot filler here that's going to be used as well. Obviously, that's really going to dictate how many you do per hour for the most part. So that's always going to match your production labor is what the machine can do, really. Okay, then so that's our propagation. That's what's going to start on 6/28. Now some year later, pretty much, in this job, now it's time that we're gonna grow it and we're gonna transplant it into the 2-gallon containers, right? So my activity code is going to be transplant labor we're going to need. I do about 2,500 of these an hour, so it says you need about 200 or 2 hours of labor here. You can see that we need our 2-gallon container. We need some soil mix. So really what we're looking at is all of these, it's so activity based. I mean, what are the activities does it take to create this product? This is like your blueprint, okay? Then what we go by 9/26, a few months later, we're actually going to space it. And so we have a spacing activity, and we got spacing labor in there, basically saying we're going to we don't need much time at all. You can see 0.7 hours there to do the spacing because we do about 7,000 an hour. And then the only thing we're doing during the inventory, once this is finished, I have an inspection activity. And that's really where we're going to inspect the product and also, output by that grade. Say how many are finished full color, how many are, bud only, and so on. So that is really what I want you to get most out of this. Sorry, I keep closing this job. Of the production scheme and activity scheme. And this is the main concept of Agriware, is that you have a production job. It's giving you all this information I already went over with you. But in this activity scheme, now we're going to be able to run the purchasing engine and see how many Limelight rooted cuttings do we need to buy? How many 38 cell trays do we need to buy? How much soil mix? How much rooting hormone? You really want to, obviously different things happen. You might do different sprays and things like that because of what's happening in the grow. You can add activities very quickly and stuff to these, maybe that aren't part of the norm, but you really want to build these to where this is really in a perfect world what we need. And if I scroll over here to the right, this also has all of our costs. So it knows what my labor cost is going to be. It knows what these inputs are because it's looking at either the latest PO or your standard cost. And so I'm already able to, even though I've just planned this job, I can click on the statistics here. And it's already saying that this should cost me about $27,577.16. Looks like the materials are expensive. So, it's 4.71 hours of labor. Material costs, I can click right into that and look at, well, what is these materials? Well, it's your hydrangea limelight, rooted cuttings, the trays, the hormone, all that. It's looking at the costs of all these and figuring that. So this is work order based, okay? So, some people say we can't do work orders, or people can't do work orders, that's too much. Well, you've got to be using something like a work order. They got to have some piece of paper or something that says what they're going to do, what they're going to plant. Well, that's what this does. So every one of these lines down here in the activity scheme, this right here is going to be a work order. It doesn't highlight too well, but there's going to be a work order for your sticking. And that work order is going to have all the details where you can go in there and open the work order, say what date you planted it, say how many you planted, and post it. Real easy. But then you're going to really know what date you did it and what date you planned. And then that's also going to update the inventory. The inventory is live as you're doing this production. Sales will see the numbers change in that, because as soon as we even do this planned job, if you look forward, 2 years or whatever, when this product is done, you're going to see that available, and they can start booking orders against it right now. But we know this 5,000 number is going to change as we're growing. And so as the production changes, the system change, much different than doing production in a spreadsheet and having your orders in QuickBooks. There's always that disconnect and you never really know. This brings all that together. Okay, so that we're going to have tons of production jobs, right? And in the next webinar here in a few weeks after Cultivate, I'm going to really dig into this and show how to execute these jobs and show you really how the workers will actually do this work and show you the results. But for today, that was the main thing that I wanted you to see, is how this production job concept works. And all of this is all added to Business Central with Agriware. All right, just one other quick thing I'm going to show you. Two, actually. So as I said, and I'm not going to do this, but we can go run the requisition worksheet, we call it, which is purchasing, and it's going to go through all of the production jobs and say, this is what you have to purchase and when. And it's going to be looking at your on-hand inventory, any purchase orders that are already there. maybe that you're ordering. It's going to take all that into account and say what you should order and when you should order it. And if you choose to, you can click a button and it'll even create your purchase orders for you. We also have some things around area planning. I can look at my long-term graph here now that I have these jobs planned, and I haven't even started planting anything, right? Remember, this is our sandbox. This takes a second to calculate here. So what I'm looking at here is I'm looking at my blue location. I'm showing by week. It's starting on, this is the 30th. I have it starting the beginning of the week. And the color scheme is by genus. So take a look at that. So red is coleus, blue is petunia, and so on. But what this is those are 52 weeks starting from week 26, 21. You see that? That looks a little busy, but the numbers at the very bottom here, that means week 26 of 21, 27, and so on. But it's actually coloring these bars to show how much space I'm using by genus. So the red line here, that's my gross capacity. And then I actually have a black line here. You can, kind of change where these are at, where my net capacity is. So this would be, I come from a liner producer. So when we run out of space, we put them in the sidewalk, we put them in the bathroom practically, so that would be this area here. But I already know that I'm within my gross capacity here. But obviously, if you go over, you're going to be able to quickly see which week and which products, where you got an issue. And it's really nice that you can look at all 52 weeks at the same time. And I'm going to just change the color scheme here real quick to change it to production phase. And I'm going to refresh this chart. I'll just take a second. So what it's going to do now is show the same thing, but show, is it in propagation phase? Is it in inventory? You can really look at that and it can help. See, I got transplant phase, inventories green, spacing, propagation, grow one. Now all those colors show that. So look at all that green in there. Those are those shrubs because they have such a long hold time. So this isn't the shrubs that we planned. These are other ones that I have already finished. And so you can see there's a really lot of inventory there because you can hold them for so long. And here's some of the crops that we started, I believe. Okay, so that's a little long-term graph. There is other visual things for your spacing, even that you can move around product and things like that. So a lot of great things for your planning. And last but not least, I'm just going to show you real quick this planning per action matrix. And I only have a few activities in here, but you can see, transplant sticking. Remember from those activity lines in the job, it said which activity we're going to do. And look, it's calculating the actual hours, labor hours. So I know in week 27, I have 29 hours of spacing to do. And this is just what's predicted right now, right in the job, because we haven't done it yet. So if you choose to and register your labor, it will update these numbers. So I can go to the past, weeks that have already passed. I could change this to year, and you can look at how much, hours did we have in transplanting in this year compared to the next year. So what's, you don't really do anything here, but look at this or export it to Excel. But you are able to, like I said, go forward and backwards in time. And then when you want to see, we got transplant here, 300 hours. Well, what is that? We'll just click on it, showing you all the different jobs and varieties that we're growing and the hours they're taking up. Actually, just 24 hours each. All my varieties are somewhat the same just for ease of setup. But you can see where that's coming from, and really, you could pull someone off the street that's never planned your labor before if you're inputting the information into the system, and they can look at the year before. They can even look at that space diagram from the year before and say, what was week 10 last year, or busiest week, or whatever your busiest week is. What was the labor like? What was our space like? It saves all that. So you can imagine as you use the system and go forward, it can really be helpful.